Sometimes I'm wondering if therapy is really that good. And of course, of course, therapy can help a lot of people and it is helping a lot of people. But what I mean is the following. I see a lot of clients in my week. So I give sessions myself as a psychologist. But sometimes there are clients where I feel that we are walking and running or talking in circles, never really getting anywhere. And of course, it is my duty, my responsibility to call them out on that, to help them get off that circle and get somewhere deeper. But still wanted to share this with you because I think it will really help you to feel if you're on this path yourself or not. Because if you are, it is not helping you. What do I mean by that? Well, what I sometimes, or more often than you think, see is that clients, and I know this state myself also really well, are in this learned helplessness state. This means that they have very deep childhood wounds and unmet needs that they're not really aware of, and a lot of suppressed emotions that they're also not aware of. But what they do know somewhere, subconsciously or not, is that from a young age, they learned that if they were helpless and made themselves small and vulnerable, that they would receive love, recognition, and validation from the people around them, their most important attachment figures, often their parents. But it also gave them emotional safety. No abandonment, no rejection. And yeah, they just felt acknowledged and validated and thus safe and seen. So, subconsciously or not, they learned that being small and helpless and vulnerable kept them safe and it would meet their unmet childhood needs. And when these clients come into therapy, when these clients come into my sessions, they come into my one-on-one sessions, I feel, because of their sucking energy, sorry to say it like that, I feel that they drain me of my energy. And then I know that they are in a learned helplessness state, that we're not really talking about their core issue or about the core emotions that they are suppressing, but we are on this superficial level talking about things that are not really the core of the problem. But they're not really aware of that. They only come to me feeling not good, like with all kinds of problems. Doesn't really matter which kinds of topics or themes or problems, but they come to me to get something. They come to me to get something, to meet needs that were not met in childhood, but they're not aware of that. They only know this learned helplessness state. And then we're in these sessions and I feel slowly my energy. I feel they drain my energy. And I also feel we're not really getting somewhere. And then I understand, and then I already know that they are in a story and they show a secondary emotion. So they have the story and the secondary emotion that is keeping them safe and keeping them away from something deeper that needs to be healed. And these people are often people that are already a very long time on the healing journey and in therapy, and nothing seems to work. And it's all heavy and it's so hard, etc., etc. So then what I then notice in the dynamic, in the energy exchange, is that I get a bit angry. I get a bit angry. And of course, I don't get angry at them and project my anger, because I hopefully don't do that, because that's my work, right? I'm always the mirror and we have an exchange. Psychology, therapy, it's relational, it's dynamic. And what I then feel is anger. And I'm like, you're sucking something from me, you're taking something from me. But with that, I'm enabling behavior that is not helping you truly heal, grow, and transform. And often people who are in this learned helplessness state have two primary emotions that they are suppressing so hard because they find it very, very scary to express or even feel them or even acknowledge that they're there. And these two primary emotions are grief and anger. And most often it is anger. There are also people who have grief and hurt. But often it's people who have suppressed anger who are in this learned helplessness state. But it can also be hurt, as I said, hurt, grief. So they're in this learned helplessness state, and they're in this story, and they're in their mind, and they have a lot of words, a lot of information, and they are always also something like, I don't know, you have to help me, you have to give me the answers. And sometimes they're even a bit cranky if I don't have the answers, right? Or don't know what to do. So then I feel this anger, and then I feel like something is not right here. I'm enabling you. I'm not truly helping you. But the client also doesn't really know that he is or she is in this learned helplessness state, but they do know it works. They do know they feel safe because they don't dare to stand in their power and in their strength and in their truth that felt too unsafe as a child. So they made themselves small and helpless, and as if there's something wrong with them and they just need help because that was safer. For example, when you had a very dominant, aggressive, controlling mother or father who didn't allow you to outgrow them or to be bigger or to stand in your power, it is safer to be in helplessness, in learned helplessness. But they also learned, and that is more the shadow part of it, the shadow side of it, to use learned helplessness as an emotionally manipulative behavior. Not that manipulation is good or bad in this sentence, but they just learned that if I show this behavior, I will get my childhood needs met. And as a psychologist, it is my duty, of course, and my responsibility to call them out on that. And what I do is that I just give it back to them, right? Like, hey, I'm noticing that I don't believe your story. Is it possible that there is something deeper behind this story that you're telling me is protecting you from? Or, hey, I'm noticing that I don't I I I say I don't believe you with clients we have a good relationship with, right? So I dare to do it a little bit more. Um, or otherwise I can say, hey, we're running a lot in circles, or I'm noticing that I'm working very hard with you. I want to lean back a little bit more and give it a little bit back to you because I'm sensing that it is about something else. Or, hey, I'm noticing that you're really in this, it is also hard state of being, but what if there is a part inside of you that has a lot of power, but you're suppressing it? Like, do you recognize that? So I help them go to the suppressed emotion. I do that even more with like somatic body exercises. Like, hey, let's stop talking here a little bit for a while. Let's do an exercise to sink deeper into the layers behind these stories and behind this helplessness state, behind the not knowing, because there is a primary emotion you're not feeling right now. And as I said, often it is suppressed anger or suppressed grief, but because that feels so intense to feel yourself and to sit with it yourself, because as a little child, when you experienced those emotions for the first time and no one was there to help you process them, you had to suppress them, dissociate from them, disown them, and stuff them away in your shadow chamber, as I always say. You also learned at that moment that it wasn't safe to experience that emotion and that you were very helpless and alone in that emotion, in the experience of that emotion. So you don't want to be confronted with that helplessness, the true helplessness from that little child. So it feels unsafe to go to those very deep, suppressed emotions. And then I do an exercise, a somatic body exercise, to sink deeper behind the story, behind the secondary emotion that is protecting the primary emotions. And we go deeper. And often then we come to the true emotion, the true grief, the true fear, the true anger that was behind the learned helplessness all along. But because we didn't want to go there ourselves, we wanted the outside world to save us. We wanted the outside world to help us regulate. We wanted the outside world to soothe us and to give us something so that we wouldn't be confronted with the scarcity, the lack, the unworthiness, the wounds that are living inside of us, very deep inside of us. So the learned helplessness was also a way of keeping ourselves safe from the outside world, but also from our internal world, from the true pain. And we just floated around somewhere in between our power and our pain to stay safe. and to get something out of the outside world so that we didn't have to go deeper into ourselves and into our bodies and into our power and into our anger and into our grief and into the screams and the rage that is living inside of us because of all the injustice, because of all the vulnerability and innocence that was taken away from us, because of giving our power away from a very young age, because of being so deeply abandoned and betrayed by the world and authorities and the people around us, right? Because there is a lot of rage and pain because of that. And then when I give that back to clients and do these exercises, we go to the primary emotion. We sink below the learned helplessness state, and we finally feel what it is truly about. And from there, they can truly grow and transform and heal and take their power back and step into their power. And they don't have to be helpless anymore because they can feel the unmet needs finally themselves, and they can accept and acknowledge the unmet needs and finally understand what is my need and what do I need and how can I meet that need myself. Or how can I communicate what I truly need with others, to others, instead of sneakily, in a way, try to suck that out of people, right? By staying in stories, staying in learned helplessness, making myself smaller, etc., 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 to get my unmet childhood needs met, to eat the energy from other people because I don't dare to sink deeper. I don't trust myself. I don't want to know what is there. Or I'm so angry that I want to throw a tantrum before I go down there in my body because it's so unfair, the hurt that was being done to me, right? In a way. And if a therapist or a facilitator or a coach or a psychologist is not aware and not sensitive to this secondary versus primary emotion, to this learned helplessness state, to and only works superficially, which a lot of facilitators, counselors still have to do because of the system they're in, because of the structures, because of the healthcare system that follows a certain protocol that they have to adhere to, conform to. They're not sensitive enough for this dance, and they're not truly helping. They're just enabling. And in Dutch, we have this saying, soft healers make stinking wounds. They're the enablers. And to truly heal, grow, and transform, we have to go through some growth pain. It has to sting a bit. We have to have this radical confrontation. We have to be in a safe space with someone who can point out our shadows, but who stays with us, who loves us anyway, who gives us the validation and the safety to dare to acknowledge, to admit, you know what, you're right. This is a shadow side of me. You're right. I am trying to meet childhood needs through these and these and these behaviors, and I am running away from a primary story, primary emotion. We have to do that, because otherwise you will only be enabled and you will never truly heal, grow, and transform. I've created a beautiful video also about that. Staying emotionally safe isn't going to help you transform. You can watch it here. You have to dare to be emotionally unsafe. Get out of helplessness state. Get out of love and light. Get out of bypass. Get out of dissociation. And truly take a radical responsibility. Step into your power. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Unshame yourself. I've written an ebook. It's called Unshame Yourself, where I also write a lot about learned helplessness and how it's created and how you can get out of it. You can download it for free on the website. It's yours. It's beautiful. Read it, use it. It's like everything I know I've poured into it, and you can download it for free. Okay, so if you have any questions about this topic, if you want to share your experience, do so in the comments. I love to read them. I love to reply. If you want help on this journey, download the free ebook. book a one-on-one session with me or one of the core team of Beyond Psychology. But we also have an entire platform where you can become a member, where we've poured everything we know. And I've dropped all my tools, my audio tours, my somatic exercises, everything on that. You can become a member for 12 euros a month, and you have your first 5 days for free. Check it out through this link. And feel free to like, subscribe, share this video with a friend whom you might think could use it too. And I see you in the next.